Remember when the Amazing Atheist used to be good? Neither do I. I notice when people say that, usually the time I got bad is exactly the time that I said something they disagreed with. Isn't that weird? Like, I was good and they liked my stuff, but then I said something they disagreed with, and coincidentally, right around that exact same time I did that, I just got so stupid and boring. Remember that? Like, I was entertaining and dynamic and charismatic and interesting when I was saying stuff that they agreed with, but then I said stuff they disagreed with, and all of a sudden, I'm just flat, I'm dull, I'm drab, I'm listless, I'm a has-been, I'm so sad, it's so pathetic to watch him try. I can't believe the guy even still makes fucking videos. Oh, wow, yeah, I still make them and I'm still the best, bitch. Oh yeah. You know why? Because look in these fucking eyeballs. Don't get caught up in the makeup. Don't get caught up in the fucking the hairline or the Mimi t-shirt or whatever the hell's going on in the background. Look in these fucking eyeballs, okay? And you tell me what you see there. Okay. That's why I'm the fucking best. And that's why the rest of you can lick my fuck. No, we're not gonna be naughty. We're not gonna be naughty. No reason for that. We can be civil. We can be calm. Yeah. Deep breath. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. This video is brought to you by 2084-2069, a science fiction novel by Caden Peterson. The year is 2069. A war is brewing between four technologically enhanced superhuman factions invented by the Founders, four brilliant beings who are thought of as gods. In this transhumanist dystopia on the brink of war, Dune Burnswick, a product of the Founders himself, must destroy them all, or else suffer the dire consequences of any of them taking over completely. Author Caden Peterson adeptly avoids so many of the genre cliches that you've come to expect to offer up an exciting new vision from a compelling new voice. Check out the links in the description section or the pinned comment below to purchase 2084-2069 as an ebook or paperback. The author's Twitter and Patreon are also linked, so check them out. And as always, please remember that supporting my sponsors helps to support this channel. And you want to support this channel, don't you? I have to feed my cats and my dog and I guess my wife as well somehow. So please help me out. Check out those links. All right, with no further ado, here's the video you clicked on. December Star 3 Catcher says,
who is unironically your favorite Disney princess and why?
So it may surprise you to learn that there are only 12 official Disney princesses. Snow White, Cinderella, Aurora, Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, Pocahontas, Mulan, Tiana, Rapunzel, Merida, and Moana. So it can't be Snow White. She does practically nothing. She almost gets murdered. She runs into the woods. She hooks up with some dwarves. Then she eats a obviously poison apple from a clearly untrustworthy stranger and she dies, and then a prince comes and kisses her and they're in love for some reason. So Cinderella you could maybe push as an example of like inner strength because she does suffer through a lot of, pain and trauma and humiliation and degradation at the hands of people that are just very cruel to her, and she manages to keep her positive outlook throughout the whole thing until eventually her fairy godmother shows up with some magic solutions to her problems. Princess Aurora, another literal do-nothing character who just is cursed at birth and then lives in the woods and then goes back to the kingdom and pricks her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel, passes out cold, and for the rest of the movie she's just a corpse until the prince kisses her and wham, she's awake, and wham, she's in love. And, basically Snow White all over again. Ariel actually has a goal and some desires, and she pursues her objectives doggedly and with determination. But then again, her goal is to be human when she's a mermaid. I think I'd rather be a mermaid than a human, even if it did mean risking the occasional shark attack. So then you've got Belle, the Stockholm Syndrome princess, who a beast tries to imprison her father and says, okay, I'll let him go, but only if you stay here with me. And she says, okay, I will do that. And then later in the movie, Gaston, the antagonist, threatens to imprison her father and says, the only way you could save him is if you stay with me. And she says, no, I would never do that. So I don't know. Maybe she learned from the first time, but actually the first time turned out really well for her. So I don't know. Seems like there's a confusing message going on in that one. Princess Jasmine. Okay, she's a princess. She can have anything she wants. She's super rich, but everything is done for her, and she lives in too much luxury, so she wants to leave the palace and go into a world she doesn't understand. I don't know. She has a motive. I don't know that I get it, but hey, whatever. I guess it's like, you know, the palace is a prison because she can't leave, so she takes initiative and gets out of there. And I guess pretty much after that, she doesn't really do much of anything. She just kind of hangs around and does strong girl things until Jafar kidnaps her and Aladdin saves her. Pocahontas, I mean, I can't even really watch that movie. It's just kind of crap. It's not very good. I mean, aside from just painting an overly rosy picture of US history, which whatever, it is a Disney movie. It's just not a good movie. It's just kind of crap. It's not even that entertaining. She's kind of a boring princess. She has a pretty singing voice. That's about it. Mulan, I don't really understand how she is an official Disney princess because she's the only character on this list that there's really no justification for calling her a princess. She never marries a prince. She's not of royal blood. There's no scenario in the entire story wherein she assumes the title of princess even briefly. So I gotta say, I don't really think she's a princess, even though Disney says she officially is. I don't know. Princess Tiana from The Princess and the Frog. Yeah, she has goals, dreams, ambitions. She's not just out there for fun. She doesn't have this nebulous, I want more! Like, she actually has a thing that she wants. She wants to open a restaurant. And she feels like she has to put in the hard work to make that happen, and her arc in that story is basically like she realizes, yeah, hard work is important, but you gotta, like, take it easy every once in a while, too. So I guess she's probably the best pound-for-pound character so far, but we got a few more. Rapunzel, another pretty proactive character, a character that's kind of locked away and made to feel like she's powerless, but then she ventures out into the world and discovers that she actually can take care of herself and that so much of what she's been told is lies. So I guess she's pretty proactive in the story. Her ambitions are a little hokey, but whatever. It's Disney, it's schmaltzy. What do you want? Then you have Princess Merida from Brave, which a lot of people didn't really care for that movie. I didn't really think it was that bad of a movie. One thing I remember about Merida in Brave is that she kind of creates the circumstance that she then has to solve, and I've never liked that in these movies where the main character is completely at fault for the crazy scenario that's happening, and it's just like they're trying to clean up their own mess. I don't know, it's like a pet peeve of mine. It kind of drives me crazy. It kind of drives me crazy to think like, hey, if this character hadn't done this in the first place, then this whole thing could have been avoided. So that is maybe just like a personal thing for me, but this is my question, so she's out. Princess Moana, this is another movie I really just didn't care for that much. I thought The Rock was kind of charming for a minute or two. I liked his little song. But most of the movie I didn't really care for, so, you know, whatever. She's an okay character. She's proactive in the plot and stuff, but that's like bare minimum stuff for a female character at this point. I have to say that probably the best job Disney has ever done with one of these is Tiana. Maybe it's just because I really like that movie. I really like the New Orleans setting, and I really like that she's probably the most driven with the most realistic goal, and she's not really a princess until she marries into royalty. So she's kind of comes from a working class background and has more of a down-to-earth attitude. So I think that's kind of cool. And she's not just like a spoiled girl looking for some nebulous more, I want to know who I am, my identity, or whatever. She wants to open a restaurant. It's a tangible thing that actually makes sense for a human being to want. It's not some big grand thing. So I have to say that probably she's my favorite of those characters. GM Camping Cake asks,
explain your stance on freedoms, i.e. freedom from disease.
Okay, so check it out. You can't actually have freedom from disease. There's no way for the government to guarantee you freedom from disease, but they can guarantee that you have access to healthcare, which hopefully will prevent disease, and if disease does happen, it'll help you overcome it as quickly as possible. Now, when I think about freedom, what I think about is choices. I think about freedom as being synonymous with choices. The more choices you have, the more freedom you have. So you're very tempted, especially when you're younger, I think, and you might go through your Ayn Rand libertarian phase like I did, where you say, wow, the way to have the most freedom is to just say anybody can make any choice they want to. Laissez-faire, do whatever you want kind of system. And then, wow, we've maximized freedom, you guys. We've done it. The unfortunate reality is that you can't really maximize freedom doing that, because then if you say anybody can make any choice, then people can make the choice to suppress other people's freedoms. People can make the choice to, I am going to create systems wherein other people's choices are limited and my choices are expanded beyond what they would be as an individual member of society. I'm going to put together a little army or something, and then I'm going to take over, and I'm going to be able to use people like pawns in my little game. Now, this is the exact sort of situation why you have the creation of something like a government in the first place. The government has what's called a monopoly on violence, and that means that they're the only legitimate users of violence, because violence sometimes has to be used in society. It's just a question of when does it need to be used. So if you have something like a governing body that presides over everything, that governing body can step in and say, hey, we will only use violence in these instances. Now, if you have a totalitarian government, that government might try to use violence against you for anything. I mean, I spoke out against the government. Okay, well, you're going to be hurt or killed or monitored or intimidated or something. There's going to be some form of reprisal done against you by that government. But if you have a more egalitarian sort of system, then the government's not going to come down at you for criticizing them or something like that. But if someone comes to your house and, tries to harm you in some way, then the government can step in and harm that person. Or if you need to defend yourself, the government can condone, that act of violence on your part as something that was justified. So I don't have every nook and cranny of some system of when it's okay for the government to intercede in human affairs in my mind, but I think that what you want to do is try to maximize the most possible choices for the most possible people. You don't want people consolidating too much power to themselves so that they can restrict the choices of others. I think you want to present as many people possible with as many choices as possible, and to me, that necessitates a strong social safety net that means that, if someone loses their job, they're not going to be destitute. We cannot have a work or die model of society. I don't think that means that no one should work or that we should disincentivize work in any way, shape, or form. I think a lot of people are afraid, if we have too strong of a social safety net, people won't even want to work. I'm not talking about a social safety net where someone can just I don't feel like working, and then they just kind of kick back on a hammock, but they get to live the same great lifestyle as people who do work or whatever the hell. I think people who don't work should have the bare minimum sort of livable conditions, basic sort of housing, food, clothing, shelter, that kind of stuff. You can eke out a bare minimum existence at that level. If that's truly all you want, then that's probably truly all you're good for. Whatever. I don't think we should inhumanely dispose of that person. But if that person wants a little more, then they're going to have to figure out some way to create value. They're going to have to create value with their labor. They're going to have to go out there and create something that people want. They're going to have to go out there and participate in a business or something like that to create goods and services for other people. They're going to have to be of use to society as a whole to be rewarded in that way. And, you know, some people would say, well, isn't that just like what capitalism does? It's like, no, capitalism clearly does not do that. You know, a person right now who goes and works a job at Subway cannot afford any sort of lifestyle for themselves. They can eke out a subsistence existence just barely by the skin of their teeth, and that's if they, you know, have a living situation where they're living with a bunch of other people and, you know, they're struggling to pay the rent and all that stuff. There's no living wage here. Anybody who lives within the confines of this society, in my opinion, should be able to survive. There should be no problem with them surviving easily. Anybody who works in this society should have a higher level of comfort and luxury and stuff than that person does. And anybody who's like creating tremendous value, they should be able to get that luxurious lifestyle, I think, up to a point. I think there's a point where it becomes obscene and disgusting. So here's like a good way to think about it. Right now, everyone supposedly in America has the same freedoms, right? But who has more choices? Jeff Bezos with his massive, unbelievable fortune, or a homeless person living in a tent city? Who has more options? Who can just decide, I'm going to fly to Prague? Now, I'm not saying you can create a society where everybody across the spectrum has an equal number of choices, but I think that you need to give as many choices as possible to the most amount of people possible, and there should be no one who has no choices. There should be no one who has no options. So that's why I believe that a strong social safety net is completely integral to any sort of meaningful freedom, at least when you're talking about freedom across the board. Now, if you're talking about you just want freedom for yourself, you want to accumulate massive power just for yourself, then yes, you have a better chance of doing that in this system that currently exists than you do in the one I'm describing. But remember, 99.9999, etc. % of people are not going to be the Lex Luthor, Jeff Bezos character that has all that, you know, stands atop the pile of gold, right? Most people are not going to be that. They're going to be the schlubs, they're going to be the plebs, they're going to be the workers, they're going to be whatever you want to call them. The proletariat, if you will, okay? If you want to get all socialisty and shit. So that being the case, when you realize you're not going to be Jeff Bezos, then don't advocate for the Jeff Bezos world. Advocate for the world where the freedoms are spread out, you know, a little bit more evenly distributed. And that's a world where there's a strong social safety net. That's a world where we do not have a work or die sort of arrangement with big business. It's a country, you know, we have a system that's a little bit more humane, charitable, kind, empathetic, and there's a greater sense of community with your fellow man and woman and anybody else. However you want to identify. I don't care. Do it. All right, well, that concludes this part of our Q&A. Thank you guys for watching. If you like what you saw here, please become a Pessimist Productions Patreon and check out all the good stuff we got there, and check out the other links in the description down below as well, because it really helps out this channel, and I appreciate each and every last one of you. Yeah.